As Russia's invasion of Ukraine enters its third year, one key question arises. How much military gear does Ukraine have? Ukraine's ability to withstand Russia's relentless attacks and secure victory hinges on the strength of its military and the equipment at its disposal. This review will first explore the critical support provided by Western allies and then dive into the broader inventory of Ukraine's military assets, from tanks and armored vehicles to all the tools it uses to defend itself against Russian aggression. Protecting Ukraine with air defense systems. Air defense systems follow. The British Starstreak missile system and the American Patriot system are Ukraine's main air defense systems from Western partners. Starting with Starstreak, this tripod-mounted system is portable and works on land and in vehicles. This weapon fires a missile comprised of 3 tungsten darts propelled to Mach 3, or 3 times the speed of sound. A laser guiding system improves precision for a fire-and-forget experience. This makes them capable of countering Russian helicopters and many fixed-wing aircraft, including several of Russia's Soviet-era fighters in the Ukraine war. The Jamestown Foundation reports that Ukraine will get 1,800 Starstreak missiles from Western allies by June 2024. Ukraine has acquired and may have more missiles, according to the same group. This comprises 45 5V-55U missiles for its S-300 missile systems, which Russia uses to protect itself. The West has given Ukraine 1,000 Piorin, 800 Stinger, and 100 Igla Manpads. The Patriot system is next. Ukraine had 2 Patriot batteries in June 2024, but Voice of America stated that it will acquire 3 more from the US, Romania, and Germany to increase its total to 5. Zelensky argues Ukraine needs more. He thinks Ukraine could battle Russia better with 25 Patriot systems. A base unit can fire 4 PAK-2 missiles or 16 PAK-3 missiles, each with a track-via missile system to help it approach its target. Each can carry a 198-pound warhead and travel 43 kilometers. Jamestown Foundation helps with missile numbers. Ukraine has 365 PAK-2 anti-ballistic missiles from Germany, the Netherlands, and the U.S. M777 howitzers, HIMARS. Our next howitzer is the M777. The U.S., Australia, and Canada supply GPS-guided artillery. The M777 is more precise than the Soviet-era 2A-36 Gyatstin B howitzer Russia uses, but both have a 25-mile range. Forbes reported 190 of these howitzers in Ukraine in May 2024, each capable of firing 100-pound, 155mm projectiles. Alternative figures contradict this number. CSIS reports Ukraine has received 352 howitzers from allies. CSIS reports 152 howitzers from the U.S. and Canada, which matches Forbes' claim. Forbes may have focused on North American benefactors. HIMARS artillery can fire shells up to 50 kilometers, but with U.S.-supplied ATAK-AMS missiles, it can fire far farther. Ukraine has 39 HIMARS launchers, which troubled Russia. As of January 2024, it had destroyed none. Tanks, drones, and other vital gear. ATAK-AMS are long-range missiles Ukraine could use to attack Russia. Ukraine possesses other long-range missiles. The country also received British Storm Shadow and French Scalps, which are similar. Forbes said that ATAK-AMS Ukraine received 20 in 2023, although its exact number is unknown. Similar story with Storm Shadow and Scalp missiles. Though numbers are scarce, French President Emmanuel Macron offered 40 Scalp missiles to Ukraine in January 2024. That added to an unknown number of Storm Shadow and Scalp missiles already supplied to Ukraine, which may reach 100. Our next topic is tanks. Ukraine has received M1 Abrams, Challenger 2, and Leopard 2 tanks from its Western allies. Starting with the M1 Abrams, the 67-ton tank has 4 crew members, one more than a standard Ukrainian main combat tank. Its cobham armor protects it from direct impacts, and its gas turbine engine uses more fuel than a similar tank, but offers it more battlefield power. The U.S. committed to deliver 31 tanks to Ukraine in January 2023, but hasn't sent any since. The Challenger 2 is a 4-crew tank like the M1 Abrams, but heavier. It has cobham armor and weighs 75 tons. Though British-made, the tank employs non-NATO ammunition. The UK, like the US, promised to deliver 14 of these tanks to Ukraine in January 2023, compared to 31 Abrams. The Leopard 2, another 4-person tank, weighs 67 tons like the M1 Abrams. It fires NATO 120-door bullets and has composite armor to deflect fire, unlike the Abrams and Challenger 2. Thus, almost every NATO-aligned nation can supply tank ammunition, if not tanks. Ukraine may have 130 of these tanks from Germany, Poland, Sweden, Canada, and Denmark. Germany donated 88 Leopard 1 tanks to Ukraine, and Denmark pledged 80 in March 2023. These tanks haven't affected the Ukraine battle as expected. Russia has more numbers, and tanks are less effective in counteroffensives than drones. Ukraine got multiple drones from its Western allies, starting with the Turkish Bayraktar TB2. In commemoration of the drone, Ukrainian soldiers wrote a popular war song. The Bayraktar TB2 can fire missiles and has defeated tanks and armored vehicles during the war. Drones are few in Ukraine. Breaking Defense estimates it started the battle with 20 TB2s and now possesses 50. However, that number has a catch. Unusable frameworks may have been received. The U.S.-made Switchblade kamikaze drone, which Ukraine has 700 off, is more prevalent on the battlefield. The drone, called the Loitering Munition System by AeroVironment, has different specs depending on the model. Switchblade 300 drones can fly for 20 minutes and cover 18.6 miles. The Switchblade 600 increases range to 24.9 to 56 miles and can fly for 40 minutes. Both have powerful weapons, but the Switchblade 600 is more destructive. It can hold 33 pounds of ammunition. The Switchblade 600 is effective for kamikaze strikes against Russian personnel. DJI Mavic drone. The DJI Mavic, a commercial surveillance drone, can't attack the enemy. With its short 11.1-inch wingspan and 42.5 mph top speed, it's hard to target when moving. The drone can fly 18.6 miles and reach 19,685 feet, making it hard to see by eye. As of May 2024, China has sold 8,200 drones to Ukraine. The final weapon provided to Ukraine is significant. Fighter jets, specifically F-16 fighters. President Volodymyr Zelensky has spent much of the war asking for these powerful American-made fighters, stating Ukraine needs 128 to battle Russia's aerial superiority. Ukraine has few. Zelensky's persistent requests for jets and America's reluctance characterized the first 18 months of the war. The U.S. caved, but it won't supply F-16s. It has allowed other NATO partners to offer Ukraine F-16s, with the CSIS reporting that various NATO countries have committed 65 F-16s to Ukraine. Again, less than half of Zelensky's forces needs, but a start. Ukrainian pilots needed extensive training before using F-16s, which took off in early August 2024. We conclude our assessment of Ukraine's Western allies' primary armament systems since the war. From here, we examine Russia's inventories by weapon type rather than system, starting with tanks, which Russia has repeatedly employed to dominate the ground. Like Russia, Ukraine's tank stock was mostly Soviet-era, with a few modern tanks. Ukraine started the conflict with 28 T-55s and 42 T-62s. However, the T-64 and T-72 were its main tanks, nearly 1,300 of the former, including variations, and 867 of the latter, including 117 Avenger T-72s. Modern tanks include 5 T-84s, one of the few Ukraine makes, and 14 T-90s it bought from Russia before the war. With roughly 60 Polish PT-6120 tanks and the Western-supplied tanks we mentioned earlier, Ukraine has a 2,700-strong tank force. Most of these tanks are Soviet-era types that cannot fight modern weapons. As the battle has continued, Russia has had to use these outdated tanks, with many of them destroyed by Ukrainian rocket-propelled grenades and drones. From tanks to armored and utility vehicles, Ukraine lagged behind Russia in APCs and IFVs in the early war. Around 2,000 Soviet-era APCs and IFVs were plenty for the Ukrainian army before the war. Problem: Ukraine's army has doubled since the war began, reaching 900,000 active soldiers. As of April 2024, Forbes estimated APC and IFV losses at 1,000, reducing Ukraine's inventories at a time when it needed more vehicles. APC and IFV delivery from some partners was slow, which didn't help. Canada will supply 89 Bison armored trucks, which can carry 2 persons and carry 27 400 pounds. M72 rocket launchers, 7 Thomas 62mm C6 medium machine guns, and 76mm multi-barrel grenade dispensers can be mounted on those vehicles. The first 39 used and current Canadian military Bison arrived promptly. The remaining 50, enough to convey a battalion, were built new and took a year to arrive. The situation improved as Ukraine's allies donated more automobiles. Forbes estimates that Ukraine has received 7,500 APCs and IFVs since the war began and restored 1,000 mothballed Soviet-era vehicles. With the Ukrainian military's original 2,000, that would be 19,500. A caveat exists. Ukraine lost 5,000 APCs and IFVs by May 2024, leaving 14,500. Despite not matching Russia's APV quantity on the battlefield, it's obtaining quality. According to Statista, Ukraine has acquired around 2,000 American-made armored Humvees, several hundred Bradley IFVs, armored AUVs, M113 APCs, and other vehicles. As it mobilizes more troops, Ukraine will require at least 1,000 more. A pattern is emerging. Ukraine has lots of weaponry, helped by its allies, but it still trails Russia in numbers. The key for Ukraine is quality. The weaponry Ukraine is receiving from the West is better than much of the Soviet-era equipment it would have to field on its own, and Western equipment is superior to Russia's overall. Artillery systems follow. Ukraine opened the battle with 1,150 Soviet-era howitzers, 350 of which were 122-meter and 750 were 750-meter, according to CSIS. Western allies provided 424 howitzers, including 352 and 70 older or smaller ones, totaling 1,600 artillery pieces. This may seem like a lot, but most of these artillery units are Soviet-era. Due to a lack of shells, Ukraine must increasingly use Western artillery to fight Russia. Shell supplies and artillery challenges. The U.S. has helped Ukraine with munitions. America sent 45,152-millimeter shells and 2,122-millimeter rounds to Ukraine after searching the world for Soviet-era ammunition, according to CSIS. The limit may be that. Russia and China are the biggest producers of these shells, and neither will supply Ukraine soon. CSIS also claims Ukraine has more artillery than it needs. It estimates that Ukraine needs 1 artillery unit per mile to protect 1,550 miles of border. In contrast, West Germany used 2,400 heavy artillery pieces to protect the 1,367-mile Cold War border with East Germany and Czechoslovakia. Not 2 units per mile, but closer than Ukraine. Artillery shell supply is another issue for Ukraine. We don't have exact quantities beyond the Soviet-era shells the U.S. has acquired, but Ukrainian officials indicated in May 2023 that they needed 2,000 artillery shells per day to fully utilize their Western weapons. Lawfare claims it received much less. It had enough shells to fire 9,000 each day, but that number has decreased to 2,000. So Ukraine is doing well with little, as shown by its wartime successes. Due to its 900,000 active military soldiers, Ukraine certainly has over 1 million small guns and rifles, as well as helmets, body armor, and other supporting gear. Your thoughts on these numbers? Do they have enough to help Ukraine win the war given Russia's military might? Does Ukraine's smart use of this equipment provide it an advantage over the Russian invaders? Please remark and thank you for watching the video.